All right. Hey guys, Mr. Fortin here, and welcome to my dark room. Thank you for your patience for me emailing out kind of my explanation of what I normally go through if I pass back kind of a quiz and kind of review it with you guys like I would in a normal year in class. So, anyways, just pass back your chapter one quiz. Woohoo! You got done with your first high school math quiz right here. And we did pretty well as a class here. So, we got with a few things with averages before it got kind of scaled with dropping a question. The average was 79%. So that's kind of around what it is normally. And then with dropping one question here, the average ended up being 86%. Now, before I really get into the details here and how this was scored and kind of how you did and go through the problems and some other stuff, maybe suggestive for you guys, I just want to emphasize this year is not about quizzes. It's not about quizzes at all, right? Not about quizzes at all. It's just about trying to showing up, being present, and trying to challenge yourself, right? Trying to challenge yourself and take care of your business. Do as best as as you can, right? You're just trying to learn and trying to grow a bit in this very, very strange kind of complex year. So I want to make things as simple as possible for you guys here in Algebra 1, and that we're just going to keep learning stuff new every single day. We'll just keep moving along, keep chugging along as we have been. And it's not about quizzes, right? Not about quizzes. So you're really only going to have about 3 quizzes this semester, I think. And there isn't really that much pressure with them because they're only 35% of your total grade. So about a third of your grade is quizzes. And then the rest is like just showing up every day, participating in class, getting your work done on a daily basis, putting in that half hour outside of class, right? So if you're putting in that half hour outside of class, getting your homework done, getting your classwork done as well, then you already have like almost a 70%. You have a 65% right there. So just to kind of put it in perspective, there was somebody who got a 73% on the quiz and they still have an A, right? They still have an A for this semester, okay? So this year is not about quizzes, right? Don't really worry about it too much if you didn't do too well. I'll get to that in a second. We just don't want to put pressure on you, but we still do have to kind of give these quizzes. We got to do that check-in being like kind of overall, how do we do? Am I learning? Are there things that I need to focus on, or did I not realize that maybe I could have done things just a little bit better, and hopefully preparing for the future? Okay, so you are getting practice with quizzes this year. Even though, right, it is a strange year, we don't want to put a lot of emphasis on quizzes. I still want you to get practice, still want you to get a little bit of feedback and see how you did and then take it from there. Okay. So, anyways, just went through the averages with you. It's all kind of here. Let me just explain real quick how it was kind of graded. So, we had 5 problems, right? 5 problems on the quiz. The big one was kind of the first one, though, number 1. So, number 1 ended up being worth like a lot more points than the other ones because it was the longest problem, right? It probably took you 10 minutes out of the 25 minutes that you had to work. So, number 1 was graphing. And right when you had to graph, this was kind of like the big part of chapter 1 was graphing, right? Taking a function, graphing it. This was a square root graph ended up here, but these people made mistakes. So if I showed you kind of on the files here, your graph, and there was something kind of off about it, something that wasn't kind of like an A plus answer or an A answer. It was something a little bit lower than that. So this person here, right, didn't do square root of X and then subtract 3 from it. They did square root of X minus 3, right? So they thought the square root was over there. Anyways, that was half credit. So you had to do a lot on number 1. This was the long part of the problem. And then you had to describe the graph completely also in number 1. So if you look here at the bottom of the tabs, right, we have the overall score. That's what you see first. Down at the tabs, these are the different problems, and this is where the feedback is. So describing the graph, which is number 1, this one here was worth, the graphing thing, this one, number 1, was worth 2 points. And then describing the graph was worth 4 points, right? Worth twice as much of that because that was kind of like the big thing that really focused on learning was Doctor, right? MISSSDR. What do all those mean? Well, like how do we demonstrate that I know how to describe a graph completely, right? We did that so much that was definitely coming up on this quiz, ended up being worth 4 points, okay? The rest of the problems all worth 2 points each. So question number 1, what family does it belong to? You just had to say real quickly, well, we see a square root there. That's the square root family, right? We spent a day graphing those. And then questions 2, 3, 4, and 5 were 2 points each, okay? So just to summarize this here, everything was 2 points each, including the graphing for number 1 and the what families does it belong. That was 2 points. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And then finally, the describing the graph was 4 points. So this was out of 16 points total, okay? Out of 16 points total. So let's see, quiz out of a total of 16 points, right? That's what you had to earn. And then over here is how many of those points did you earn out of the 16? So definitely double check. go through and make sure we did it all right, we did it all correctly. I'm willing to fix it if there were mistakes and whatnot here. So if you got everything right, you got a 16 out of 16. And if you didn't get everything right, that's okay, right? You're still working, you're still developing. So maybe you got like a 9 out of 16 here. You might be wondering, 9 out of 16, that's not 81%. 9 out of 16. Oh, I got to relook at this one here. I don't know why that was a +4. So I got to look into you. Sorry, I'm 89371021. I got to look into yours a little bit here because it shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have jumped to 13 there. Anyways, so I'll ignore that for a second. So you had your total points earned here. And that's not what went into Synergy, not what went into Google Classroom, because remember, I told you ahead of time, just to hopefully take a little bit of the edge, take a little bit of pressure off it. Because again, I'm not creating a whole bunch of perfectionists here. You guys are not perfectionists. You're people who are trying to learn and trying to develop. So it's not about perfection. So I was totally okay with getting one question of those incorrect here. So I did drop one of the questions, the question that you may perform least effectively on, or you got the fewest amount of points. So I did that, and it was up to 2 points because I dropped your lowest performing question aside from the describing the graph. The describing the graph one I didn't drop at all. So if you made mistakes in describing the graph, but you got everything else right, I didn't give you those points back, for instance, okay? But if you made mistakes in describing the graph and you made mistakes elsewhere, right, I would give you the 2 points back elsewhere, but I wouldn't give it describing the graph. I hope that makes sense, or that makes sense, because we spent so much time describing the graph. Describing the graph was kind of the main thing that we did. In chapter 1, you had to come out of the unit knowing it, right, because we spent so much time doing it. If not, right, you're still trying to get caught up and still learning to do that, because this might be on future quizzes, right? It might be in future quizzes here. So describing the graph didn't get dropped. Any other question that you might have gotten wrong, I took the one that you lost the most amount of points, and I pretended you got a perfect score on it, right? And it was all good here. So for instance, like this person got 15, they lost a point on one of the questions, right? This is 48 here. Lost a point on one of the questions, and so I still gave them a 16, right? And that's still 100% instead of 94%, for instance, okay? And then this made a difference, right? If you scored a little bit low, this person got a 67%, but when I added 2 points to it, they ended up going up to an 80%, right? Totally good. Got a B- on the quiz, but they probably still have an A for the course so far if they've been turning stuff in, right? Turning stuff in and doing it, taking care of their business. Okay, so that's sort of the front page. If you notice here, this obviously is the student ID that you sent me a couple weeks ago or last week for the attendance question. If you forget the code that you sent me and you're having trouble finding your feedback or your score, please just message me and I'll find it and send it to you. Okay, so this is the overall scores. Next tab, class summary. So let's just quickly go over this here. This is kind of what you can do to improve if you're looking to improve, okay, based on your kind of score here, okay? So a lot of people got A's, like definitely more so than I'm used to, right? And I'm fine with that, right? I was dropping a question, making it a little bit easier to get an A than usual. So the majority of people did get an A on this. This is way higher than my geometry class, for instance. My geometry class was kind of a big distribution, right? Big distribution here. Here we got a bunch of A's, which is fine. So just keep doing what you're doing. I think this class is great. I actually really like. I really like a lot of my classes, but I really like Algebra 1 first block. You guys are doing a sweet job. Keep up the good work. So just keep doing what you're doing. Keep turning your work. Keep questioning one another, and then the groups are going really well too, right? I think I like that kind of pushing each other's thinking, and then prepares you better for stuff like this on the quizzes. Okay. If you got a B here, right? A lot of students get B's. I'm not used to getting B's. I'm going to Lowell. I got A's all throughout middle school. Yada yada yada. What's happening? Well, things are changed now. You're into high school. It's an adjustment year, right? An adjustment year. And you're adjusting, right, to a new environment and kind of new kind of maybe expectations a little bit here that you maybe not had in middle school. So anyways, you got a B. I wanted to reiterate to you that these 5 people got a B. That's above average achievement, right? In the SFUSD, the school district breaks down what an A means, what a B means, what a C means, what a D means, and what an F means. A B means above average achievement. So that's very good. Pat yourself in the back. You're at a tougher school and you're above average here. You're doing great. So anyways, really good approach so far. But hey, like if you're going to be, there are some things you could do, right? There are definitely some things you can do to kind of improve and show more proficiency and really get to that A level, right? Get to the A level. So anyways, some things I want you to consider here is make sure you're correcting your homework, for instance, right? You're doing the homework, and then maybe you're checking the homework help links to be like, did I kind of get this one right and whatnot? I'm trying to get you feedback on homework as well. I know it's kind of slowed down recently. I always get feedback to my geometry students, but It's harder for me to do for algebra for whatever reason. So, but if I do write you feedback on Google Classroom, please, right? Please correct it. Please make sure that you know that you're updating work, you're improving, right? That's how you improve is through correcting. So improving your notes and studying. Okay, so we have a new vocabulary word in a particular lesson. You're writing it down, right? You're storing it away. And you got to study for the quiz, right? Study for the quiz just by studying your homework at a time. What is everything we've been doing? Do I know all of it? If so, you should get an A next time, right? Reach out to Mr. Fortin if you need ideas, because I have ideas, I think, for all 5 of you. If you're curious, be like, oh, what is something you noticed about what I'm doing, or what do you think that I should do? I can give you ideas, so please email me if you have that here. Okay, C is a average achievement. Not too many people with the C's right here, but anyways, my recommendation is to perhaps try to do your work earlier in the day. Noticing kind of the same people kind of do the homework early in the day, like I'm just gonna take care of my work. But if you do your homework early in the day rather than late in the day, you're not rushing it, right? You're not rushing it. And you're doing it with kind of a clear head, and you have all that time to rest before the next class, right? Before the next class. So I think typically what I see from this kind of like C students and quizzes is you're just kind of like rushing a lot of the time, right? You're rushing to get something done versus like doing it early and then relaxing on it. Because your brain actually, if you do assignments early in the day, like homework early in the day, your brain will have time to process it until we see each other next, right? So it's a long time where your brain is processing it, and it's really no work for your brain to do that. It's just like a normal brain process. So try to do your homework a little bit earlier in the day, and your kind of practice early in the day, and I think that could really help you to views there. Make sure you're correcting your homework as well, right? It's not enough just to do your homework. Like, oh, I got it done and turned it in and I got credit. No, that's not good enough. You got to make sure you're getting most of it, right, correct and understanding it. If not, you're asking me questions here, and you're reading my feedback. Read my feedback on Google Classroom, right? When I do have a chance to look at your homework, I do, and I write you feedback here. Okay, and finally, I'll get to this eligible for redemption thing in a second. It's not redemption quiz; it's redemption reflection. Okay, and then you can get up to 15 points for that. I'll get to this in a second for you folks. I'll get to that in a second. And then we had a few folks who were did a little bit more lower. My guess is that they had an idea. Maybe I'm not really getting all of these questions here, so kind of went to it not feeling like they got a lot of homework. So hopefully this didn't come up as a huge surprise. But anyways, this one here, right? You have a lot of things to improve, right? Which is great, right? We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna tackle this, and we're gonna figure out how to improve your approach, right? That's what it's all about, is like getting you through this, coaching you through this. And you gave it a shot here, and maybe you did your approach kind of from middle school, but things are going to have to adjust. You're going to have to grow, right? This year isn't about quizzes, but it's still about growth, right? How do I grow into how do I improve? So reach out to me. First of all, if you did get like kind of a really low score here, and I might not know, right? There's some crazy stuff going on that is preventing you from focusing in school. So if there are major issues going on that I don't know about, please let me know, right? Please let me know. That just helps me plan for you and plan to figure out maybe a plan with you to hopefully make sure you get the education that we as a society think you definitely deserve, even if you have something really tough going on here. We'll try to figure it out to get you to a good enough place, right? Sometimes you say in a year, good enough is good enough. If not, try to implement some major changes to your approach. Okay, so if you don't have crazy stuff going on, it's like, I just haven't really been trying that hard. Well, you're going to have to try harder, right? You have to try harder and have some major changes to your approach. So make sure you're doing the homework each day, right? Do the homework. Make sure you're correcting it using the homework help links. Making sure you're kind of getting it right. Maybe running it by a friend or something like that. Not giving them the homework answers, but sending them your homework, being like, you revise my homework. I trust you. And perhaps, I could find some people who would be willing to give homework feedback to people. Another thing too I want to mention is that I have tutors in this class. So there are students in this class who volunteered. I have a lot of people who aren't doing it yet too, but who volunteered to be tutors. So if you are kind of getting a lower grade than you would like, and you want to kind of improve, you could work with one of our homework helper tutors in class here. And so what I've told those people and have arranged with them is that on Tuesdays and Thursdays, that's often when we have our problem sets. We have our homework those days. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, if you want to do your homework with somebody else in class, just email me and I can set you up with another person, and you guys can decide whenever you want to meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You meet over Zoom at 3 p.m. if you're both not busy at 3 p.m., at 4 p.m. if you're both not busy. And you just do the homework together. You talk about it. You make sure you're kind of getting it. right? Make sure you're kind of getting it. So that is something that I have tutors and I have homework helpers. You just have to email me and I can set that up. And I think that's a really good way to get better. So I'd highly recommend that you email me if you want to work with a tutor, work with somebody else on your homework. One thing that we're not getting as much of this year, which is unfortunate, is group work. I know a lot of time in class I put you in your breakdowns because group work really is the best way for you guys to learn at this stage of your lives and to work with one another and reason and make sense of things. It's a lot harder for me to just explain everything to you and you just magically get it. It's better for you to work through things. So by potentially reaching out to me and saying, who can I do homework with, gives you more group work that maybe you're more used to. Maybe you're not missing it. And that's kind of the why maybe things didn't go as well as you would have hoped. Because you're not doing as much group work. Okay. Another thing too, this is kind of a big thing. It's something I always say to people who are kind of getting the lower grades here is that make sure you're writing as many things down as possible. Right? As many things down as possible. Okay, so a lot of times I say, hey, this is a great one, put it in your notes, right? And I look around the class and there are like 3 people writing down in their notes. No, when I say put it in your notes, the people who always put it in their notes always do better on quizzes, always do better on tests. Like if I had to say the thing that I notice from people who score high on tests versus low on tests, the biggest difference is how much they write, right? How much they write and also how much they read, right? To be honest here, you want to read things closely. That's why we want to read things out loud in class because that helps people really look closely at things. But you want to make sure you're reading very closely, but also writing as much as possible. So even if it's not a problem on a homework, right, you're still writing it down in your notes, right? Mr. Fortin says, this is our vocabulary word for the day. You write that down in your notebook and you wait until you can explain what it is here. So if I say open dot is a vocabulary word or a term today, open dot, then you're waiting to write down. And when we get to it, you can say open dot. This is when less than or greater than is our inequality, not greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. Okay, these are situations where it's non-inclusive versus inclusive. Okay, so if you're just writing it down, you're working it out in your brain. And you're putting it aside here. Okay, so write as much as possible. Okay, last thing I said was consider getting paired up with the tutor. Yeah, to do homework on Tuesdays or Thursdays. Email Mr. Fortin or request one through that link, and that's it. Okay. Another thing I need to mention too for the people who got below an 80% is that I put something in Google Classroom. It's in there already. You can earn up to 15 more points up to an 80%. Okay, so that's eligible for people who have C's and below. So if you had got like a 75 on the quiz or whatever, and you want to kind of make it up, right? Make it up. You would, what would you do? You would do that assignment on Google Classroom. You're only going to see it if you got below an 80 on the quiz. And it's a reflection, okay? A reflection where you have to go through each problem and explain kind of the mistakes that you made and then explain what your new answer is here. And then explain if you still have questions or you're still not sure, okay? So you do have to figure out how to do the problems, right? I'm putting that on you, and there are ways to do it. You can come meet with me during office hours. You can get a homework tutor to help you with it. You can get a friend to help you with it. There are many ways where you can figure out how to do this stuff if you struggle with it in the 25 minutes we had in class. So you have until next Thursday, so a week from today, to turn that in. And say you got like a 55 on the quiz. If you get those 15 points back because you did figure out how to do the problems and you showed that to me and you wrote a reflection on each, then your grade would go from a 55, we would add 15 to that, and your grade would become a 70. So your grade would be pretty close to an A actually in the class if you've been turning everything in. Because remember, I had somebody who got a 73 on the quiz, still had they had 90% in the class. Okay, remember quiz. The year's not about quizzes. So the quizzes aren't worth that much, right? They're worth about a third of your grade. Okay. All right, I think that's about it. That's all I kind of want to cover. So make sure you check out all these tabs here. They give you feedback. I gave everybody feedback on the describing the graph thing. So this is copied and pasted. So people who got full credit, for instance, you can read their full credit answers. That's kind of nice. So this person got full credit, yes, and so you get to see everything here. But anyways, and the other ones, if you got it right, I just put yes. I didn't actually write it down, but people who got it incorrect, I kind of gave them feedback, right? Gave them feedback here, okay? So here's what I wrote back to you. The question's over here if you forget where the question is, but these, I don't have an answer key for you here because for the people who got less than 80%, I want you to figure it out, right? I want you to actually do it and get those redemption points, okay? Yeah, this was a trickier problem. This is always a trickier problem here, the function notation when they give you g of x, right? So g of x equals 2. What does x equal, right? Like that was kind of hard there. So make sure you try to work on that one and try to hopefully get it. Yeah, and then it's all here. Okay, so you can check it out. All right. So, anyways, to recap, quizzes, do they matter much this year? No, quizzes don't matter that much this year, but still, we need to get practice doing them. We need to build our confidence with them. That's why I still want to do it with you guys here too. So we got about 3 quizzes this semester. If you got below an 80%, do that other assignment that I put in Google Classroom, the reflection, like figure out how to do all those problems. You can come to office hours, but it's on you to figure it out, right? Office hours, ask a friend, ask a family member, ask your tutor, right? Because you could sign up for Lowell CSF tutoring or just email me. I'll set you up with the tutor and you'll be all good to go. And that's about it. Went over the scoring thing, 2 points each for everything. Did not drop anything in the describing the graph section. That's about it. Feel free to email me if you have any questions. But please, if you have any questions, please, hopefully you watch this video, okay? Because some people might email me questions. They'll be like, it was in the video. I explained that. So it'd be good if you guys watch this, okay? But if you're watching this now, you're like, I am watching the video. Why are you telling me this now, okay? All right, that's it. Thank you again for the patience for me to get this explanation out there. Sorry that I wanted you to get the grades earlier and I didn't have time to film this video earlier, but now it's here. So I'll send this out now. Have a good night, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.